Damaged Goods Podcast.
I also noticed you got the earbuds in, dude. You look like serious businessman Leedz, dude. Yeah.
Well, I find it better to do these with the earbuds, just so you have to hear, everyone in the house doesn't need to hear my conversation.
You look like you should be running on a treadmill with those in, like closing the deal. Like, no, he's not playing the show. Cancel him. Like, just running.
Do you not want me to wear them?
No, dude, they look great. It's cool. I'm doing fun, dude. I'm going to make observational remarks, though.
It's all good.
Yeah, dude. Your beard is looking ferocious these days, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Been having it maintaining the beard for a while now, like a decade.
Yeah, I know. I noticed, man. I noticed, dude. It's crazy because, like, as you get a little older as a man, your ability to, like, really make a beard. See, I've known you quite a while since I was probably not able to grow a beard. And then you get a little older, and then you can get the man beard. And when your real man genes come into your body,
Right.
It's all those.
So I see we're recording here. You were right. You just randomly turned it on.
Yeah.
See.
Oh, yeah. That voice.
You started it with my beard. Is that how we're starting this?
Well, before,
talking about my beard?
Talking about the ear pods and looking like you're a sick businessman.
Oh, you started with that. I see.
Yeah, that's right. That surprise voice is my guest on Damaged Goods. This is a man I've known for quite a while. He's a very successful, talented dude. My man, Ned Wellbery, Leedz of Leedz Edutainment. This dude is like the hip hop promoter in Boston. And much more than that. You're like kind of like you've been a manager, an executive producer. You had your hands on a lot of projects. You actually put out music, curate music. You're a lot, dude. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were a little choppy still, so I missed the last sentence.
No, I just said you do a lot, man. You're not just a dude throwing shows,
No, man, you gotta keep your hand in the do many different things in this business. As you know, as a hustler, you have to have a couple things going on. It's not just one thing you do, it's a bunch of things. So like, obviously it started with promoting shows and then managing artists and then putting out music and then curating playlists and then owning a studio, then becoming a talent buyer of all music in the Middle East, then becoming the general manager of the Middle East, and now I'm doing digital marketing. So it's all
a lot.
wear a lot of hats, you know what I mean?
So that was like 12 hats. And what you said was it started off promoting shows. The way Leedz and I knew each other is you gave me a mixtape you made first. And I was like, oh, this dude's got great taste in hip hop, like same taste in mine. So even before you were promoting shows, you were already making tapes. Did you know when you were like, all right, I'm going to start throwing shows, was it down the line you knew eventually you were going to want to wear those other hats, start doing those other things?
Yeah, I didn't really, when I met you, I was just starting at Northeastern. And I was a DJ at that point, more like a mixtape DJ in New Hampshire, just really like putting together these mixtapes that was like double disc mixtapes and like CDs back when you had to burn it all on the CD. And I was doing the movie samples early.
Yes.
And, I was doing those mixtapes and that's kind of what it was. But I was in New Hampshire. So like people weren't really feeling the underground hip hop as much as they were in the city. So I ended up in Northeastern, and like I said, my first love was just putting together mixtapes. And I was doing that since a kid, when you had the tapes and the dual tape decks and the high-speed dubbing. That was my favorite thing to do in the world, So becoming a DJ was like a natural progression. Oh, but I didn't love DJing in clubs and playing mainstream music all the time. And around 2001, 2002, the music got way too, like the commercial music I wanted to get played was just not up my alley. Like Back That Thing Up was like Back That Ass Up was like the #1 hit. And I was like, everywhere I go, I have to play that like 14 times. So like, I just went underground.
Yeah. No,
so yeah.
I get it.
When I landed at Northeastern, I didn't really know what to do. I just wanted to be in Boston. I wanted to be in the music business. That's all I knew. And I didn't know what my role was going to be, but like I said at the time, like the music industry was crashing because of like illegal downloading and burning CDs.
Yeah, Napster was like, Napster was like popping, peaking.
Yeah, Audio Galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all.
Then you had LimeWire, but LimeWire would just destroy your computer.
And then you had this crazy notion like, okay, I'm gonna like undertake the crazy endeavor of throwing live hip hop shows. Like one of the craziest choices a person can make in the music industry. And you just was like, fuck it, I'm gonna throw shows.
Well, I mean, at that time, I was, like I said, working for Metro Concepts, and they were throwing shows. You know, they threw those Super Bowl battles that you won one year as a rapper.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to admit that I'm talking to Jay the S here. I think he goes by his real name now, Damaged Goods, but he's a rapper.
Oh, they all know.
I know him as Jake the Snake, the rapper.
Yeah.
Then Jay the S, and now whatever he's using for a name, I don't know.
I use Jake the Snake.
But anyways.
I go Jake the Snake's easier to pronounce than my real last name, so I still use it. Most people can't.
So you just go with the Jake Frazik? Is that
Jake
it?
Frazik. See, you can't do it. That's why I have to
Frazik.
go Snake. It's very hard. Yes, but I mean, on my book, I go by Jake Frazik because I want it to be like my fucking name. But like people on my radio show or podcast, they know Jake the Snake or the Snake Man, J the S. So I don't care. Yeah, but yeah, like you, dude. I know this, and like a lot of people who listen to this were fans of mine back then too, or they're people who know about live music and touring and shit. And throwing shows is fucking nuts, dude. And one of the hardest, if not the hardest part about it, is being the dude who's like the promoter who actually fucking throws the show, dude. And that's like, it always blew my mind that you were down for that. It was a mission. That's a crazy mission.
Yeah. At the time I was, in my early 20s, and I was just going out to shows, and I just loved, to me I was, coming off a career of hustling, hustling trees. So I was like, the government and the legal system, shut me down. But nowadays I get offered a job at a dispensary. But I was coming off that type of lifestyle of just like, you buy this, you sell it for that, right? So I was like, it made sense to me, like, you buy the talent, you rent the room, and then the profits all go to you, right? So it was like, and then like, after that hustling and stuff, I needed something to transition to. I was selling phones in the mall. I was that guy that was like, hey, what do you got for a phone? What do you got for a phone? This is when cell phones were really taking off. And then, so then like shows, to me, that was like the natural progression. And it was a role that was needed to be filled at the time. Like I said, the labels were crashing. Metro Concepts was going out of business. Any type of guerrilla marketing thing was done. So, but the one thing you couldn't duplicate or download was the live performance. So I just, I was young, I was single, wanted to go out all the time. So I was like, let's just start throwing shows. I loved hip hop. I not grew up, but I went to Middle East shows prior to me throwing them. And to me, it was such a great intimate space to throw an underground hip hop show. It was just like
underneath the basement vibe. It was a great place.
Yeah.
And especially when you could still, not that I ever smoked cigarettes, but I don't know why I liked it, but the way when you could smoke in there, just like clouds of smoke would just float down there. It was just thick. It would burn your eyeballs. I liked it though.
Yeah, you could smoke butts back then and like smoke. Well, you weren't really supposed to smoke weed, but they were smoking weed down there, and it was in the basement. So, yeah, I mean, the history there before me, all those shows and all those events, it was, to step into that role was like, yeah, man, I'm ready. That was like the shit. like, let's go.
I feel like most people, when they think of like promoters, people think of like club promoters, like club night. Like when a DJ spins at a club night, they don't think of like the music promoter role, which I just know from being around people like you or people I've worked with on tours. It's a fucking headache because you're dealing with, like you said earlier, the talent. And dude, talent is not easy to deal with. There's personalities, egos, demands, schedules. It's crazy. And then you got even like local talent. And then you're talking about a limited amount of places in Boston at the time where hip hop's even showcased, and then even limited amount of shows happening, and a lot of people trying to perform at those. So you've got a very high demand, supply of rappers, and they all want to fucking rock and open up. And I know that's just like got to be a lot of pressure on you as a promoter. Like you got everyone coming at you, wanting to perform.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge, to be honest. It was dealing with all the different people, man. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the performers be cool, but their entourages were difficult. Everybody wants to be backstage. Everybody wants to get in for free. Everybody, you know, wants something. And someone's got to tell them no. You know what I mean? And I hated being that guy, but you know, at that time I had to be that guy because it was my livelihood. It was like, this is how I pay my bills. This is how I make a living, you know, and this is safety issues. We can't just let everybody back here. And it's like, you want to be friendly, but at the same time, you have to draw a line. People are drinking, getting drunk. It's just, I had to take it real serious, because if I didn't take it real serious, it was going to fall apart pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't miss that part of throwing shows at all.
I don't.
And you're right, it is stressful.
Yeah.
It was extremely stressful.
I'm surprised you don't have as many gray hairs as I do from doing shit like that. That shit's stressful, bro.
I got sober.
Yeah. You know, like, also for people who aren't familiar with Boston, you'll probably attest to this too. It always felt like the city really didn't want hip hop shows going down, and the few venues that were able to do it and stuff, you couldn't risk the opportunity for further shows not to take place. Like an incident was to happen at, so even if it was a club night, not a live show per se, but it was a hip hop club night. If shit went down there, that night might get pulled from said venue. And it was just constantly felt like the places where you could see live music, live hip hop was getting more and more limited. So for a dude in your position, some shit pops off at one of your shows, not only does it fuck up, like, you know, that show for you or whatever, but your relationship with the venue or the venue's willingness to even have hip-hop shows. And now the scene suffers and shit. The culture suffers, you know? There's a lot on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Middle East was one of the few spots that really allowed hip-hop to come in. We're pretty cool about it. And, you know, before them, you're right, Boston really wasn't having it in the 90s, and the Middle East and Cambridge really was really kind of open to it. And because of that, me and many others had careers, you know, as independent promoters or musicians or whatever because of that, and it opened the door for a lot of people. But you're right, though, if there was an incident, and this has happened and I had seen it, you know, if someone got hurt or there was a fight or a really bad fight or like a stabbing or shooting or whatever, yeah, that could shut down hip hop shows in the Middle East. Everything was riding on it. So like, again, you had to be kind of vigilant with your security and your procedures and just playing it safe, and better safe than sorry. And it was just a lot of stress and anxiety about worrying about that stuff. You know, because like I said, one incident happens, and then the city can say, okay, no more hip hop shows for a while. And then what? Everyone's screwed. You know what I mean? So I always carried that type of burden around with me. People didn't really understand it all completely, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
And any arguments I ever got into anybody with about it or whatever was generally about that. You know what I mean? Like, let's not screw this up for the whole community.
I'm sure you got somebody who's like, yo, Leedz, why you putting me on? You're putting this dude on, or why are you making us go on this set, or beefing with you, or you're not letting me bring in all these guys with me on my set and my show, and they're looking at you mad because you're their mind shortchanging them on this one moment, this one experience, this one opportunity to perform. But you're looking at not just tonight's show, but you're looking at the whole fucking year's shows booked and all these things in the greater scene, and you're trying not to fuck it up, not just for your career, but like you said, for hip hop in Boston in general. And it's hard, I think, both like for that young artist who just can't see past, why ain't you giving me some love, or why are you tripping on me? I want to perform, to see like how like you got to be kind of more responsible, play that in a way to the scene in the live show sense, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to appease everybody. You can't appease everybody sometimes, man. You know what I mean? And you know, I didn't necessarily I didn't understand my role as much as I guess I should have. You know, like I didn't understand. To me, it was just let's just get the show safe, right? I didn't realize that like I was kind of becoming this gatekeeper of opportunity.
Yeah.
That people were depending on the live shows and needed those opportunities, and were having trouble finding them. So I was like kind of like the only one promoter at that time that was willing to book hip hop. So if they weren't getting booked by me, then they were kind of like they were kind of losing, and that was a lot of pressure on me, man, because I couldn't, like I said, book everybody.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, that's why when I later down the road, I was like, dude, we need more promoters. Like I can't do all this, you know. And I always welcomed it. You know, when I became a talent buyer at the Middle East, I was trying to like get more people in there and to learn this trade and work with more people. And people did become more promoters. There were more independent promoters starting before everything got shut down. It was starting to get better. And that took a lot of pressure off me, man.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You might enjoy what you did a lot more too, you know? You feel a little bit lighter.
Yeah, because I think when I came in the game, I was all about doing what I wanted to do, right? Like the artists I wanted to work with, the shows I wanted to promote. That's what I wanted to do. And I was kind of like a little arrogant to like what had been done before me, the people that had had rapped and had done things before me, and the new people coming up that I didn't know. And I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't understand my role as kind of like a community person. Because I didn't grow up in Boston. You know what I mean? So I grew up out in New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire, and northern Mass. So I didn't have the ties to everybody, like people that were from here. So and I was stubborn and I was kind of defiant. People tell me I needed to do this. That was like me. I would just automatically say, no, I'm not doing this. And but now I see once I got into a position where I was stable and I was like, okay, now I'm in a good place. Then I realized what I was. And that's when I opened up the doors to everybody and really try to just grow it. But that took a while to get to that point, unfortunately. And I was young and I was dumb and drunk and high and not always paying attention. So, but eventually that was my goal in the end, was to just try to get as many people involved, especially at the Middle East. I wanted everybody to be involved at the Middle East. It was an independent venue that was open to anybody. It was one of the few venues that did that. That was my goal.
Yeah.
It really was. And some people were thought that I was being overly competitive, and it wasn't because I was being overly competitive. It was just I had relationships that other people didn't have with booking agents.
What do they mean by overly competitive, and what nature?
Well, I think it was because I was a talent buyer at the Middle East, and they thought I was deciding what, it wasn't fair to other promoters. And I understand that. But you got to also remember that those were I had relationships with booking agents that I had developed over 10, 15 years. And that kind of is the name of the game, unfortunately, for, people. It's like, you are who you know and you are in relationships with. And, I wasn't going to give away my good relationships at the same time. So I was getting the best shows. But new promoters, they got to earn those, and that takes time to build those up. So I wasn't at an advantage, but I kind of worked to that advantage at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you earned it through dealing with all the stress that you were describing before. You go through all those headaches, those frustrating times, and the times where you can't enjoy it as much. But there's an upside, or there's a a positive byproduct of all that. And that's, like you said, those working relationships, that experience that you earn. And a lot of people hate that. You know, they always look at somebody in your position like that. I guess they go, that's the old guard. They're limiting my upward mobility or my entrance. But it's not to say, well, someone did it before you and whatever, but it's just, if you spent the time busting your ass and earning shit the hard way, it's hard to relinquish that, especially when you're still trying to make a career out of it and benefit from it.
Yeah, I mean, totally. It's you know, I always told people, hey, listen, if you can't get a show with me, just book your own, man. You know, like you know, that's how I did. You know, but it was, yeah, it's a, you know, it's like the Dark Knight theory. You know, you're the hero at first, and then you become the villain.
I was waiting for you to drop a movie quote in here soon, bro. I thought we were gonna get one at least in the first 10 minutes, but. One thing.
Well, it's that same thing. It's that same theory. You know, it's like you become the standard, you become the system, and then people just naturally rebel.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and I never wanted to be that. You know,
oh, but all I
wanted to do was throw my own shows. Yeah, I wanted to be the best at what I did. Yes, but you know, it wasn't like I was obsessed on that. Like it was like, I just want to throw the shows and make a living and not worry about all this extra drama. But it just came with the territory, man. It just did. And I had really no mentors at that time in front of me saying, this is what you need to do. This is how you handle that. But I was blazing the trail by myself, learning from my mistakes and trying to fix as many relationships as I can, and I'm still trying to fix some of those relationships today. You know, man, like things just, you know, it's a crazy business. Things get out of control sometimes, and I always tried to make the best decision, but I always didn't. You know, like sometimes I didn't handle things correctly. But I've really tried over the last 4 or 5 years to just try to make things right with everybody. You know?
Yeah, man, it's admirable, man. I mean, I can't tell you how many times when I was active in my music career, people would be like, yo, man, Snake, I see you boys playing these Leedz shows. Like, could you hook me up? And like, I don't even know that well. If I was going to do that to anybody, it would be somebody that I was already tighter with that I would put through you. But these are like exterior people asking me. And I'm like, dude, you got to go play some shows and I don't know, dude, put a record, win a battle. Like, I can't help you get on the shows if I'm still helping somebody more close to me get on the show. But many people asked me to plug them with Leedz for gigs so many times. And I'm sure but sometimes backstage. So I apologize for giving you any gray hairs or headaches, bro. I didn't mean it.
No, you were actually pretty good to work with. And, you know, for those listening, like, you are the that don't know our relationship. Like, you were the first local rapper I met when I came to Boston.
Yeah, dude.
You know, we had a class together, and this is a funny story for people listening, but Jake was a prima donna and wouldn't play certain venues.
Yeah.
And I was just starting out. And I was like, I'm throwing a show at All Asia. Will you please play? He's like, no, man, I ain't doing a show at All Asia. I ain't doing the Western Front. Middle East only. I was like, all right, bro.
I got in some trouble at All Asia. A few of my friends, I have a lot of graffiti writer friends, they got drunk and they etch bathed, which is like that acid that you can kind of paint with almost on glass. They etch bathed. All Asia was a club in Cambridge on Mass Ave for the listeners that had floor to ceiling glass windows. So you could actually see into it at night to see people playing music. And some of my affiliates etch bath tagged the fucking windows and shit. So I wasn't well liked there. And I think there was another incident there too. So I was like, fuck that place, you know,
No, I don't think that was the story.
Because it was under my calendar.
I think I think that was just, I don't like the sound. I'm not playing. I think that's all it was.
Yeah, the sound I didn't like, because also.
It was bad. It was bad.
Better. When you know there's a good sound over there, you're like, I want to go there where the good sound is, sir. You know, you want to play.
Yeah, no, I mean, All Asia was the starting venue for most bands and promoters. You know.
But you got to do it.
You walk in, you talk to Patty, she write your name in a calendar book, you get the date. I actually brought my own own sound system in the beginning, and even that didn't sound good. And and it was a bar in the bar was like an island bar in the middle of the venue.
All off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I'd be sucking down. They'd be giving you these little personal scorpion bowls, and I'd be, man, you'd suck like 3 or 4 of those down, and by the time you sucked the third one down, the first one would start kicking in. So by the time you got to the fourth, you were fucking lit. I barely made it home many a times.
Oh, these scorpion rolls are dangerous, man. Dangerous.
It doesn't taste like you're drinking alcohol. Those ones, you know.
There's a dude in my phone. His name in my phone is Scorpion Bowl Mike, and it's a long story. A female friend of mine's associate, and his Scorpion Bowl Mike. I don't even know why he's in my phone.
Well, shout out Scorpion Bowl Mike and anyone that had any of those at All Asia, because those things are woo. Woo.
With all the crazy show shit, like without throwing any artists under the bus, like what are some of the crazier stories from throwing shows that stand out to you? It doesn't have to be crazy bad, not like a fucking shooting or something, but any crazy stories or shows.
Is it bad or good?
Both. Any.
We pull up the list because, you know, when people ask me, I recall the memory of everything I've done here. Hold on.
So anything that.
Trying to think of one I haven't told before yet either, because I hate saying the same ones over and over again.
If it's crazy, fucking tell it to me. I might not be aware of it.
Blah, blah.
It's crazy that you got to do that ill-ass DMX show, or did you do 2 DMX shows?
Well, we could talk about that one. I mean, that was a Scarface show. That was a Scarface tour.
Yeah.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
That Scarface brought out DMX, right?
Well, what happened is Scarface was doing the tour, and right before we're about to open up doors, he tells me, listen, DMX and Swizz Beatz are coming. Just be ready for them at the back door. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Like, you know how many times I had heard, you know, you when you're a promoter, you hear that all the time. Like, so-and-so is coming. Famous people are coming, and they don't come. I mean, sometimes they come, but more than like 90% of the time, they don't show up. So I was like, all right, sure, whatever. All of a sudden, in the middle of Scarface's set, all of a sudden, security is rushing the back door. I have no idea what's happening. My stage manager at the time, Jake, is like, DMX and Swizz Beatz are here. I go outside, is a brand new McLaren parked in the Middle East alley, which could fit like one car in the dumpster. And DMX is outside taking a piss on the dumpster.
Yes.
60 deep. Like a Swizz Beatz is like in disguise. He's got like a hood over his head. Like, you can't even tell who he is. But DMX you fully know who he is. They go down the stairs and they you know, and then ends up performing on stage and then hangs out the whole show. So then it's like after he performs, he's in the crowd, and the crowd is going crazy, taking pictures with this guy. DMX is walking through the Middle East downstairs, 550-person capacity venue, and people are just blown away by this. And it was totally random. And whoever bought a ticket that night for Scarface
lucky,
got the best memory of a show they ever had. I mean, just seeing a Scarface solo show alone is in Boston is a huge deal, in my opinion. You know, it took me 15 years of my career to finally make that show happen. And then to add that on top of it, you know, and the funny story is that I found out later in a Swizz Beatz interview is DMX and Swizz drove from upstate New York to Boston just to see Scarface that night.
Damn, that shows you. Like,
so they drove 4 hours to they weren't in town. They drove 4 hours to the Middle East to see Scarface perform. And then DMX came out and did Rough Riders Anthem, Where My Dog's At. Huge like spiel about how Scarface was his favorite rapper. I think they were performing Scarface songs together for a second, and it was that was a great story, man. That was a wow. That was a whoa.
That's crazy, bro. I mean, DMX was like, you know, in lieu of his passing, everyone shares kind of moments that are similar to the story you just shared rather, that showcase kind of like this character about him, like, you know, as big of an artist as he was very much, I don't know, he walked around with a pretty calm head, and he was very much like amongst the common people, and he wasn't in the flashy shit or whatever, and he didn't need bodyguards. He was just rolling. I've heard so many stories that sound similar to that one, not just take it away from the uniqueness of it, but just a greater show that DMX was a very special superstar. Where some dudes are prima donnas and won't play like all Asia when they're fucking 18 like me. Then you got this dude, this mega millionaire superstar walking through the crowd, probably just blowing kids' minds, you know? Just fucking what? That's crazy, man. That's
just imagine you're in a crowd and you're watching Scarface, right?
yeah.
And you're there for Scarface, and then all of a sudden, and then DMX comes out. I mean, and you didn't know he was coming. We did because we were part of the crew, but the fans experiencing that's a great special guest.
No, I think one of my
Swiss Beats is on the stage, you know.
No,
the McLaren is out back.
Dude, as a fan of live music, I think one of the most incredible things is those surprise moments. Because yes, you pay for the tickets, who's on the bill, and you're psyched, and maybe you haven't seen them ever, or they're on their final tour, or whatever. But when anyone brings out surprises, especially like if you see big surprises like that, you're like, I mean, dude, I saw Nas bring out Jay-Z ones. I've seen fucking Busta bring out Tribe. Like wild shit like that, and it's the best because it makes that show so much more special that you kind of talk about that one more to your friends. You probably have other friends who saw Scarface, but they didn't see Scarface when he brought X out, you know, like shit like that.
Right. Right. And another good special guest one, since we'll talk about those, was when I did the Slain and Ill Bill show around 2007, 2008, right when La Coca Nostra first got formed, and they brought out Everlast, surprise guest. Now at the time, Everlast had not been doing club shows. He had been doing like bigger venues, and it was kind of MIA for a while, and was not really rapping. So throw Everlast in this basically super rap group with Ill Bill and Slain, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're just there to see Slain and Ill Bill, and all of a sudden Everlast in 2007 just randomly comes out doing La Coca Nostra songs and then performs Jump Around in the Middle East. You're not expecting that. Crazy. That was a pretty crazy moment early on in my career that I was like, whoa, this is great. You know, Danny Boy's there. I mean, that was at that time in Boston, Irish City, that was like, wow, you know, shout out Ill Bill and Slain for making that happen, and Danny Boy and all that, because that was great, man. You know, for me, I was such an Everlast House of Pain fan that was a huge moment for me first.
Yeah. And I mean, those are the things like pride gets you through all the bullshit moments and shows and all the frustration and stress and like the fucking artists pissing and moaning about shit and all that, you know. Those are the moments you're like, fuck, thank God I do this, you know.
Yeah, and there was a lot of those. Like the good always outweighed the bad for most of my career, you know what I mean? Like it was always worth it at the end of the day. Some shows were really easy, you breezed through, you barely had to do anything, and some shows were like every inch of the way was a pain in the ass. You just had to, like, you know, take the good with the bad, really, you know. And the end, I liked curating shows. Like I liked putting them together. I liked doing that. And then, you know, I hit a stride where I was like, I felt like it was just doing a job, you know. And then I had to kind of like the last few years of my career, I had to really kind of get myself re-inspired, you know, and seek out inspiration, because if I didn't do that, it just seemed just boring. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't enjoying it. The money wasn't really, you know, people thought I made a lot of money. I didn't really make, you know, a ton of money. I wasn't making 6 digits doing this, you know. it was just it was a normal paying job, and most people made more money than me. So it wasn't even like for the money, like I was just
But
for the
that means
love of hip hop.
you fucking love it, dude. I mean, eh, money is a motivating factor for a lot of people, but when people are doing something from a passionate standpoint, you're willing to put up with more because your heart's in it more. You're definitely more invested. And the whole like kind of what you're talking about branching out when you hit your strides, it's almost like different ways of reinventing yourself to get inspiration, to do new things, to stay kind of creative and active. Because if you don't, you lose your inspiration. And, you hear it in musicians and artists. We know that kind of really never change the formula, but you can kind of hear the passion dissipating from their voice on more recent records. It almost sounds like they're going for a check. They're not, they're just like, okay, I'm cashing in on this one, phoning in the songs, and it feels whatever. Then there's certain artists who maybe they just take different turns in their careers and keeps it interesting for themselves, which keeps it interesting for the fans because there's actually passion in what they're doing or they're into it,
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've never really been one. When my hustling days were over, I realized that it's not about money. You know what I mean? Because like when I say hustling, my illegal activities.
Not to
I
confuse people working hard, legally working hard. People are like, I'm out here hustling. I'm like, no, you're working at a 9-to-5 job. That's not hustling, dude.
Yeah. Well, hustling, like I said, where we're from, you were, selling something you shouldn't have been selling.
Yeah, coloring out.
For me, it was.
Yeah.
For me, that lifestyle of was all about the money. That was. I mean, I believed that marijuana should have been legal. I smoked it. It was fine. You know what I mean? I was right because 20 years later, it's legal. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, word. You know what I mean? But the law at the time thought differently. But they've changed their minds since then. But that kind of schooled me to what I was willing to do for money. You know what I mean? And how you can get in trouble chasing money. So when that was all done, I got some crappy sales job no, I guess it wasn't crappy. I mean, I was selling cell phones in the mall. And this commission-based job, full commission, you only get paid if you sell that thing. Again, chasing the paycheck. And it was like, I'm miserable. Like I'm miserable. Yeah, I got money in the bank, but I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And even hustling trees, I was miserable. I felt I had my moments, but, at the most part, my soul wasn't feeling great, And so like when I made this decision to pursue music, it wasn't a decision about, I'm going to go get paid. I'm going to go, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people jump in the rap game thinking that.
Nope.
Big mistake. So it's like, I just wanted to make a living.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a living and have basic things and enjoy what I do for work and survive. That's all I wanted. I did not want everything else. I didn't even care about the fame really. I just wanted. The first interview we did, my goal, when I first started Leedz, still selling cell phones in the mall. And they asked me at the time, my main priority was just being full time in the music business. That was my only goal. So, like I said, it was a decision not really based on money and gains. So not making a ton of money as a promoter, I just didn't throw it all away. I guess that was the big plus I did is like, I saved my money. I invested it in things like I was just good with it. So I didn't lose it. And those good decisions still support a lifestyle of mine in the music, but never, we do things for money. I've done things for money, but it wasn't the whole thing. You know what I mean? Can't be.
No, it can't be. I mean, I know some people who do it and it just looks bleak. Like they do look miserable. And I just like, when you're talking about in a job where you felt miserable, I've had those too where I'm like, fuck, this sucks. I think back to the times I've had the most money in my life. strangely, I was not the happiest.
Yeah.
Not to say that you can't be happy with money. It might have been what, one's doing for that money, But if you're miserable all day, especially if you're busy, it's consuming all your time. So even if you got this money, but you ain't got no fucking time to spend it or spend it with people you like, what the fuck's the point? You're like this lonely king in the castle who never sees the sunlight and die alone. Dude, fuck, that sounds horrible, dude. I got a gun under my bed. I'll shoot myself before I do that,
Yeah.
Nothing it was doing that, what you like.
Yeah, I mean, it's just got to be a balance, right? Because you got to make a living, right? You got to like pay your bills, do stuff, and have things, and you want to do the things you want, as long as it's not in excess or someone gets hurt. But it's like there has to be a balance. And I'm still working on that balance. It's not like but you're right, man. Like the slave to the dollar theory, and that's what I was for a long time, working these jobs and doing stuff before Leedz. It's just, worshiping money, man, worshiping the dollar, just thinking like, once I get this amount, right? Like once I get this amount, I'm good, right? Then I get that amount and I just set the line back farther. Okay, now I want this amount.
Yeah, dude, that's what it is, man.
It was never enough.
Chasing the dragon. It's kind of chasing the dragon, right?
Yeah. And it just came from just a deep insecurity of myself, really, because I wasn't raised that way. And my mom, we didn't have much. And my parents made the most of what they had. So, and they were happy. So I wasn't raised that way. It was just my desire for more, feeling like I didn't have enough and I wanted more. And I was willing to sacrifice my freedom, my life, my time for that, because I think deep down that it would fix me in some way, but it never did. You know what I mean? It never did. It was just an empty hole that just never got filled.
Yeah, you keep pouring the sand in the cup and it goes at the bottom, kind of thing. Yeah.
And thank God I did get arrested. I can't, I'm not saying this now, but that's the only way I stopped.
Wake up call, right?
Yeah. And then by the grace of God, that those charges, got dropped on a legal search and seizure. But it's just like,
not guilty.
When I met you, when I met you in Northeastern, I got arrested like a couple months afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle. I had worked to this point to get to school and all this stuff, and then I was arrested as soon as I got to it. I had to take a semester off and come back. I take a semester off and come back. You're like the Super Bowl fucking MC battle champion. I'm like, what the hell happened? I don't play shows in all Asia. I don't play shows anywhere unless there's jelly. There's only red M&Ms in the rider. There's jelly beans. There's Jake the Snake.
Very particular. Canada Dry ginger.
There's definitely whiskey involved. There definitely needs to be a lot of whiskey and drink tickets.
Oh man, drink tickets. Oh God, dude, that's the thing, man. You guys get hit up, promoters. Just everybody's asking for shit all the time, and you have the patience of like a high school teacher, because you got to deal. And it's not like little kids or people. It's fucking grown men, aggressive, angry, frustrated, just always being demanding, asking for shit. People always asking for shit. I don't know how you did it, man.
Well, it's I used to get really resentful at these type of demands. Yeah. But you don't always, there's so much financial insecurity and lack of opportunity in Boston that it just kind of breeds, in music business in general, I should say. It just breeds this like, I got to get on by any means necessary attitude.
Yeah.
Kick down the door. Don't tell me no, I'm coming. You know what I mean? And part of that is what you need to make it. You need that in you a little bit to make it.
Yeah.
That narcissism. Then once you get to a point where you're in a good position, then you can kind of let that down. A lot of people don't. But you want to like that stuff can destroy you too. So it's tough to balance that, but you don't always know why people are the way they are. And it took me a long time to understand that. Not when there's a lack of opportunity, feel like you have to really take it.
Yeah.
And that's what people were doing to me. They were trying to take it. And I get it. I get it. And I've been told no. I've had the door slammed on me. I know what that feels like, man. And I know how angry and pissed off you can get, and you can play the blame game and all this. And I understand that mentality. But you have to find ways around it, and you have to kind of just see where you land and try new things. You can't necessarily get ahead by blaming other people, because that's just an excuse, right? So if you use that as an excuse, you're never going to move forward. So, and if you hold on to that resentment, that's just going to screw things up for you. You know what I mean? It's going to divide your mind.
Yeah, no.
And take away from your hustle. So you got to just find ways to work around things and get in where you fit in, like Too Short says.
Yeah, dude, nah. I always felt the thing about resentment, holding grudges and bitterness is all it does is eat away at you. Like whoever the host of that bitterness is, it's just choosing you. The people that you're bitter at or having that resentment towards, even if they know it, doesn't really affect them as much. It just it's like just carrying around some extra weight. And when you get to that forgiving ability, like I didn't even know, I knew what forgiveness was as a concept, but when I finally realized, wow, like I'm not forgiving other people necessarily for them, I'm forgiving them for me, or I'm stopping being resentful for me. When I learned that, dude, like shit just like bricks falling off my fucking shoulders. It felt incredible,
Yeah, you always were good. You got along with people. I got to give it to you there, man. You were a lot more likable than I was. Probably still am.
I don't know. You ask.
You could have. You were like a politician in Boston. You always keep everybody happy.
I kept some peace, man. There's some mutual friends of ours that like I had some dudes call me up, be like, yo, what's up with your boy? Like one of these dudes, another one of my friends. And I'm like, oh God, I was like intermediary for one of our you and I's mutual friends, a rapper who's kind of a wild, funny man. He would say,
shout out to him.
Yeah, he would say some crazy shit. Then some other dudes would get upset about it. And then they come, hey man, what's up with your boy? We're about to form. It's like, nah, he's just crazy. Just,
yeah,
peace.
And that was an unfortunate situation that I'm still working on. But
no, there's a lot of
you're right though. Like so many people in hip hop use resentment as their fuel. Like, I want to get successful to prove all these people that I'm something. And it's like, man, you just wasted so much energy in the wrong direction. And all you're doing is letting those people know that they got you.
Yeah.
And screw that, man. I lived like that for 30 years. Like horrible. Like, and that anger was always justified, right?
Yeah.
But wasn't. Like highly justified. But at the end of the day, like my serenity and my peace and my, that type of stuff was disrupted.
Yeah.
But this, like I said, it all comes down to the financial insecurity in the music business, the lack of opportunities, where we come from, how we're raised. I mean, it's just a melting pot of issues that drive a lot of us to be great artists and to be great businessmen and to be great hustlers. But if you don't get a handle on that, it will destroy you. That I used to think those things made me great. When I got, sober later, I realized those things are destroying me as well. So, balance, right? And learning how to deal with that shit. And a lot of people don't have people in their corner to guide them in that situation. You know what I mean? Like they don't have people to be like, check them and be like, yo, you got to fix, like this ain't a good look. dudes don't always have good teams, you know what I mean? Good role models, good business people. Like, just be like, yo, it's not how you do it, man. You know what I mean? Like, this is not going to get you ahead, you know? And, you know, so many times, how many times do we see dudes coming up that got so talented, but they self-destruct,
Yeah,
you
dude,
know? All the talent in the world is self-destruct. And that's because of those things,
sometimes
man.
it's like their crew or the people they keep, the company they keep, or sometimes it's like, yeah, they exhibit some of the traits you're talking about, like so much talent, but yet they'll sabotage themselves, whether directly or indirectly. Sometimes they'll do it like subconsciously because they're scared of succeeding. Sometimes they just can't help it by doing some kind of learned behavior that just works counterproductive to the music industry. And dude, you said something that I really thought was poignant, is you know, people being fueled by that resentment. And I see that all across social media, not even in just the music industry, but very much in the music industry, especially in the hip hop realm. And that was probably one of the things I hated the most. And it's this, fuck all the haters. It's always like, yo, like you'll see people tweeting shit, like saying, man, when I come out with this shit, and all these people that played me, he's gonna fucking get her. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like just always what do they call it? Subtweeting? I don't know what the kids say, where they don't really say somebody's name, but
Indirect.
yeah, and they're clearly talking shit about someone who hurt their feelings, and they'll just go on these like little vague rants where you're not really giving me any substance to even enjoy it from a sick, like, you know, what do you call it, voyeuristic view. Like, you're just ranting and being angry at people and using that as your fuel to be successful, to fuck these haters, basically. And it's so corny, dude. It's so corny. It's tired. It's
Yeah.
I hate it.
Once you see the reality of it, right, of why, you know, what it's actually doing and affecting, it's yeah, I mean, it's one of my biggest peeves right now, just because I used to do it. You know, like, I used to do it
Most, right? It's self-reflection. We hate that shit.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you want to get to a point where I want to get to a point where I'm not going to let somebody get to me. Like, we can have a misunderstanding, go our separate ways. If I've messed up, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? But I'm not want to carry that around.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want to make someone I dislike my motivation.
Yeah.
You know? Like, this sort of screws me over, my motivation. But so often we do that, you know, and it's sometimes it's hard when those resentments are people we care about, right? Or people that we've helped, that we thought were friends, that betrayed us and stuff like that. But the reality is, especially in hip hop, it's a lot of people, you know, are twisted inside. You know what I mean? It kind of comes with the territory. I've just accepted that people are gonna try to screw me over. It comes with the territory. It is what it is. You screwed me over. We don't do business again. That could be your loss. You know what I mean? And I know that I'm a good businessman. I'm a good person. Like, you messed up.
Yeah.
That's on you. It ain't on me. You know. But also, people sometimes don't really get to know the truth of a situation, right? We don't seek the truth of it. We just assume, or we hear someone say one thing, we roll with it. We don't seek the truth of what really happened. Because a lot of people be telling themselves, you know, with those resentments and stuff, a lot of people be telling themselves lies, fueling those resentments. Like, you know, they might not be the truth in the situation. They're just making up this fucking fight club in their head that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
You know, and I've done that. Still can do that. I gotta check myself on that.
Definitely done it. Well, it's a way you can avoid taking responsibility, right? Like, when there's a scapegoat for all the problems, or when you can place it on somebody else, then you don't have to look inwards. You don't have to challenge and critique yourself. You don't have to damage your own ego. Motherfuckers hate to fuck with their own ego because it breaks you down and humbles you. And to be successful and driven and feel confident all the time, feel good all the time, you want to keep your ego in check. Some people don't want to criticize themselves. They're going to blame everybody else for their shortcomings, or you know, the lack of whatever. Sometimes people will fuck you over. Sometimes it might be your fault. Like, if you were driving down the street, Leedz, and some dude blows a red light and T-bones you, like, kind of his fucking fault. But when you go in the realm of like the arts and business, you can't be just blaming because you still got to work hard. You got to, just work on your shit.
Well, it's like, why, how can I blame anyone else for me, my actions, right? It's tough with like gatekeepers and people, kind of just call the shots for everything, but that's all starting to change now, man. In the music business now, man, there's less gatekeepers anymore. It's not someone saying you ain't good enough or this music isn't good enough. This is, we're gonna push this. You know what I mean? Like, you can do it all on your own now. Like, it's not like when me and you were coming up and we had like limited, we had to know the radio guy, we had to know this. If we didn't have good relationships with certain people, we might not happen. Things might not happen for us.
Yeah.
It's not like that now. On a major level, I'm sure it is, but for an independent level coming up, man, you don't you don't need to know me. You don't need to know a radio personality. You don't need to know a blog. You can just man. You got social media, you got Spotify, you got all these things. You can work those angles yourself. You don't need shit from nobody as long as you know how to do it.
Yeah, it's true.
And you can build that shit up.
Yeah.
So in this era, no one can really say so-and-so ain't giving me a chance and this is why I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
You got to learn the skill of putting your own music out and, in that whole process. But, that only you are stopping you at that point.
So coming off that point, let me ask you something. And I ponder this matter quite often. Back in the day, when I say, or Leedz says back in the day, we're talking when we were coming up. When we had to go through these channels.
2000s.
Yeah. You have these channels, these gatekeepers, these things like that. Maybe less artists trying to do it because it's much harder to do it. There's only few people getting through. Nowadays, right? Don't need that shit. Social media, Spotify, SoundCloud, you can do your shit, but you got to know how to work it, like Leedz said, right? Like you said, like know how to, I don't know, kind of tweak shit so you're going to catch the right algorithms, whatever the fuck. But I find that a lot of people, artists, are absorbing the roles as, I don't need a manager, I can do this. I don't need a booking agent, I can do this. I'm actually going to produce and record. They're wearing a lot of hats, but I feel like a lot of business hats. And maybe it takes away from their actual artistry. Like, do you think there was something to it when artists mainly just worked on being artists? And yes, they had to deal with gatekeepers and these channels and maybe people taking advantage of them, but they were focused more on creating. Where now, yes, guys are putting out music, but they're doing all the other shit too. They're doing their own digital marketing, everything. Is their art kind of getting neglected? Do you think there's any trade-off there?
It depends on the artist. I don't think it's a black and white question. I think like some artists are very self-sufficient. You were a very self-sufficient artist.
Thank you, Leedz. How nice.
Okay. Other artists we know are not.
Yes.
They need managers. They need teams. I think it all depends. I think, yeah. I mean, ideally, like I've worked with artists who are like, they need all the help they can get from me. I've worked with other artists who like barely need me to do anything. So it's like, it all depends. And as long as the music sounds good and they don't feel like their music is suffering, I don't think it matters. But I think there are less, some artists just can't wrap their head around all that business stuff that we just mentioned. They just can't. And it can be overwhelming to some people. And I get, that's why they need guys like me to help them with their digital marketing, help them with their promotions. They need guys like me to do that. And that's fine. And some know how to do it already, know how to do it better than me.
Shit. Fuck.
So it like I said, I think it's, it depends on the individual. But I will say this, I think if you have a team, having a good team, you'll be more successful.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like, I don't think just doing it yourself your own way without people helping you or learning to work with other people. Some artists just can't work with anybody. They're just so in their own world. And I think that hurts them too, because they can't learn to compromise with others and share a vision, right? So they'll suffer that way. Because if it's who's going to want to work with someone that's always just all about doing it their way? Like in any field, right? Like, would you want to work with someone like that? It's not going to listen to you. You're just there to do what they tell you to do. No one's going to want that.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I think a team is very important. When I have a good team with an artist, like, man, we kill.
Yeah,
We kill.
that's good. That's smooth, man. Craziest demands you've ever had from an artist, like whether it's on the ride or whatever, like any backstage requests, just a crazy one. Ridiculous even, if you will.
I'm looking at it. Hold on.
Preposterous. Hard to fathom.
See,
Unbelievable.
the Middle East, we didn't get a lot of that at the Middle East. I mean, people for the most part knew where they were at. You're at a basement in Central Square in a grimy, in an old restaurant, old building. I didn't get a lot of the, crazy demands. I mean, oh man, there's got to be something though. Hold on. Oh man.
Do you get nervous when people crowd surf at your shows?
Oh yeah. Because you're always worried someone's going to break their neck. So, and then you're going to get sued. So that's always a nerve-wracking thing.
Who sues? The person sues the venue?
So if someone breaks their neck and gets seriously hurt, they'll sue whoever they can.
So they'll try to sue you, the promoter, the club, maybe.
Whoever.
Damn.
Whoever. Whoever.
Jesus H. Christ. Dude.
Yeah, I don't have any. I can't remember any serious demands.
My red M&Ms were the biggest demand. The no all Asia, that's the biggest.
I think Jake, you saying no all Asia, no Western Front.
I grew to like the Western Front again.
Put 20 people on the list.
Yeah.
Put the whole greater good, the whole Audible mainframe on the list, and we're good to go.
Speaking of which, my man Special Blend was just here.
We did have one artist. I'm not going to say the name about it.
Say his name.
I'm not going to say the name on this one because they were literally overseas artists. I'll just say that, and they were big overseas. They were like superstars overseas, but they were Middle East downstairs show here, and they wanted cocaine, and they weren't letting that go. Normally someone say, we get some blow and be like, man, we don't really get that around here. But they were like, the tour manager, this guy was like from the 80s. He was just looked like he'd been doing it since the 80s. And he just wasn't letting it go. And the show was over. He's like, oh, what's up with the, I forget what did he use, like the boom boom or the bang bang, whatever it was. And eventually someone told him to go over to the model over in Brighton, that bar.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably gonna get in trouble by the model for this, but
who knows?
So apparently the tour bus is trying to get the model is like an artistic dive bar over in Brighton. It's like it's not a venue, it's just bar. Yeah. And although I guess apparently the big tour bus just pulled up in front of the model. I think they got what they needed.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to say for sure if it happened, but I think they showed up. I don't know. They went there looking. I'll say that.
Oh shit, dude.
Hopefully the mall stays open. Some people might disagree with that, but
yeah. We'll hope. Hey, anybody who's in town looking for some disco sugar, let's hope the fucking model in Brighton is acting.
We look around at what other people are doing and compare ourselves and say we need to do more. Not necessarily. You know what I mean? We don't all have the same starting point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not all coming from the same starting point. So for me to compare myself to any other individual that didn't start exactly from where I am, how can I even say that? How can I even compare that? Yeah. I'm just setting myself up for a bad expectation and maybe putting expectations on myself that aren't reasonable and not having any gratitude for anything that I've achieved.
Yeah.
And so often with social media, do we see the best of people's pictures or whatever, or their gains or their success and say, fuck man, I ain't got shit.
No, that's
but that's a reality for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people think like that, and and especially in an era where we just seem to be getting richer and richer as a country, like people just need more and more and more. And it's like, you know, it's to the point where we don't enjoy our own process anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
It's never good enough. I mean, honestly, this might kind of sound silly and trivial, but it's actually don't think it is. One of the reasons behind like a lot of my social media presence, whether I'm promoting this podcast or my book or whatever, is like I kind of post like sad and depressing shit, but in a humorous way, very self-deprecating, even like not glamorous shit. I make fun of myself a lot, and I like doing that because it feels authentic and good. But I get a lot of like love from people I don't know, you know, just fans, whether they buy the book or listen to the podcast or, you know, just look at the shit on Instagram. They like that shit because it makes them feel a little more comfortable because they know shit isn't all peaches and cream out there, and they see the fucking bullshit posts that everyone shows them. Some people are like, dude, my fucking day sucks. I work a 12-hour shift. I hate it, but I love laughing at your shit. Or some chick's like, yo, I'm fucking battling for custody of my son, and your shit's hilarious. And oh, I read your book, and that's crazy. You go to therapy and this and that, man. That's like great because I feel like shit all the time. Like, so people might be like, oh, you just post fucked up sad memes. I'm like, yes, kind of, but actually serves a purpose. And that's my point with it. You can post the fucking fake ass motivational quote with a picture of you looking at the sun and shit like any cookie motherfucker. Go do that, dude. I'm going to do this over here and make fun of myself in the process.
Well, I think it comes down to not taking yourself so serious, and I'm glad that you're not taking yourself serious. And your meme game is off the fucking hook. Let me just tell you, I've been around some good meme people. R.I.P. Keith Mize. Those that don't know, his mad meme Mize, whatever he used to go by, his meme game was crazy. So crazy, he got shut down many times.
Yeah, dude.
You keep it, I guess, active. I don't see you get shut down. But.
I get tagged a lot. I get reported a lot. I get a lot of DMs of random people being like, wrong, that's fucked up. Like, how would you like it? I'm like, oh God. And I'm not a bad guy, so to read those, I'm like, oh, you're totally missing the point, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think keeping it honest, right? I think the big take out of the social media era is the flip side to it all is like honesty. Like, and in the music business, keeping it honest, because for the last 20 years, I've just seen a facade of people just trying to be something they're not. So many of us, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be jewelry and clothing, just trying to be something other than who we are, you know? And I like to see, and I think we're starting to see it a little bit, is just like honesty coming back. Like, realism. Like, I am who I am. I'm screwed up. I'm this, I'm that. I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be giant superstar. I'm just here. I love making music. My music's good. Or whatever wherever you come from, you know, your situation's not good or whatever, you know, just keeping it honest, because that's the stuff in not being afraid to be vulnerable about it. Like, you're not afraid to be vulnerable and talk about, I'm in therapy. I got sad thoughts. You know what I mean? I got dark thoughts. I got issues. You know what I mean? Because that's most of the way the world is, really. No one is perfect. Exactly. But yet we strive to create this perfect avatar on social media. It's not us. It's a salesperson.
Yeah.
And music, to me, was never about that. You know, we came up in a hip-hop era where it was not all about that. Yeah, there was some of it, but it wasn't all about that.
No.
You know, it was an aesthetic. So I hope to see that, you know, I think people are starting to get more real with their shit, you know what I mean? And not be afraid to address who they actually are.
Yeah.
And you get more comfort in that. When you can admit who you are and not be afraid to say how you actually feel, you'll have more peace and serenity from that.
For sure.
You know, instead of being ruled by insecurity and a need for more.
Because, like you said,
which hip hop falls into that trap, man.
Yeah, and you'll never fill the fucking glass, like we were saying earlier. You're just gonna keep pouring and pouring, but that hole at the bottom is gonna leave that motherfucker empty, dude. And you're just gonna be chasing the motherfucking